Hello and welcome back to the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. It's time for the 6th round of this 16th season, which means, of course, that we're in Monte Carlo for the shortest race of the season and one of the most challenging. Of course, I'm talking about the Monaco Grand Prix. My name is Justin, and I'll be taking you through all of the action today at this historic race, and today I'm joined by James.
Hello guys, well, back again, and already a car's retired from the session. It's car powerful. Early doors around Monaco, the place where we know qualifying could decide the Grand Prix. You've got to start on the front row here to have any sort of chance of getting anywhere near race victory. Consistency is also key around this circuit, it's keen to point out. So let's just see then, who has the pace in qualifying when it matters? Car powerful won't be, by the look of things.
Yeah, it seems he won't be topping the timing sheets as he is already gone. We only have 12 drivers for today's race. I'm not sure if that's because some of the guys are feeling a little hungover after the F1 esports yesterday. I know a lot of people were out partying after heading out for that finale, which was a lot of fun to watch. I did miss a lot of it due to my internet being down, which was severely unfortunate. And also, we don't have things today, like we don't have the hot lap for you or anything like that. So it's a bit of a weird day today here at Apex Online Racing, but we're going to power through it no less. We're going to make up for, hopefully we're going to make up for the missing drivers and the missing assets and all of that kind of stuff by having some incredible racing. And we have had incredible racing so far in this season. It's been really, really good. Although we have had really just 2 winners and 4 wins out of 5 for CRG Evo as it stands at the moment. So he is looking like the man to beat, no doubt about it. Unfortunately, I also don't have the exact standings for you guys either right now, so I can't tell you how much he's winning by exactly, but it was a return to form last time out for Surprise after he picked up a second place, nearly picked up that win. It was very, very close. But after a couple of DNFs, it was great to see Surprise in his Mercedes back up on the podium. We do have a number of times coming in on the board, and Surprise is quickest at the moment, James, dipping into the 107s, and Evo right behind him, but still 4.5 tenths slower, or a little less than 4.5 tenths slower than the Mercedes. So we have seen, obviously, that people tend to go out on the soft compound tire at the beginning of qualifying and then go out later on a harder compound. So I don't know how much we can trust these times, but Monaco is very kind on the tires. So maybe everyone's just going to run out there on the ultra softs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one, this circuit. I mean, yeah, Hypersofts are obviously the biggest talking point throughout the entire season, I'm sure, is the tyre temperatures for these guys, the carcass temperatures. Once they get over a certain degree, they're undrivable. They're absolutely undrivable. And the worst tyres for that are the Hypersoft tyres. So these guys will probably not want to be on this tyre, but it's probably beneficial for them at the start. Don't be surprised to see some try to better their laps, especially the guys who I think we should be looking at 1 minute. I mean, the low 8s, high 9s, low 8s, high 7s, and potentially, if you're surprised, even low 7s. So, yeah, we should be looking for them to, perhaps do the alternate strategy, although there are only going to be 2 people who get the option to start on whatever tyres they like, and of course they will start from 11th and 12th.
Yeah, again, such a small grid, so yeah, we're only going to have those 2 people with the choice of tires. It is completely dry out there. It looks absolutely beautiful in the skies of Monte Carlo, so no threat of rain, at least for this qualifying session, with just over 12 minutes still remaining. Of course, we don't know the weather forecast for the race, and that really would be something. I mean, the rate of attrition, if it were to rain around here, would be significantly higher. And we were talking in the before the broadcast started about how possibly there might be less than 10 finishers in this race, and if it rains, that's only going to make things even worse. So we'll keep an eye on the skies, but for now, it certainly seems like it's going to be dry. Just a reminder, Surprise is the quickest at the moment with that 107.4, just under a 107.5. Evo, the only other driver to dip into the 107 so far, but still with plenty of time to go. And it's a short lap, of course, too, so we could see a number of drivers just popping out of the pits with, less than 3 minutes remaining, less than 2 minutes remaining. Doesn't take that long to get around and start another lap. I'm having a look at OMG, it's Joe right now, as he's just making his way through the swimming pool chicane section and making his way down towards Rascasse and the final couple of corners. So, James, if you want to go on board with OMG to Joe, he's just about to start a lap, and you can talk us through it here.
Let's go then. Into Sandoval we go, and we know this is one of the shortest runs into turn one you get all season long. Throws the car into Sandoval, and there you go, just not quite clearing the barrier. Up towards, here we go, into the casino sort of section by Rivage as well. It's flying into him. Asane follows, and the chicane, it goes so quickly you can't even get your words out. Here we go, dropping in towards the end of the first sector, throwing the car in once again. A slight lock up on the right front, into the left of the Lowe's hairpin, the slowest corner in the entire calendar, throwing the car back across in towards Portier. Once again, this is a place famous, of course, in Formula 1 history, where Ayrton Senna famously binned the car all those years ago. Through the tunnel section, and now down towards, it is the Nouvelle chicane, and you don't want to be getting that close to the inside barrier, because that can really, can even take the car around. And here we go in towards the back once again, throwing the car in. There's so little room for mistake here. The barriers are so close together into the swim pool section. It all comes at you so quickly. It's almost like going into a time warp, if you will. If we go into Rascasse and now the Anthony Nose corner, try not to clip that apex on the outside, because it really does unsettle the car, and that will be the lap for Joe, who moves into P3 but not into the 1 minute sevens.
Very, very close between himself and Leopard. Just, wow, I'm struggling to do math right now. 19 one-thousandths of a second between the two of them, but again, still lots of time left in this qualifying session, just under 10 minutes remaining. And it was a difficult time last time out at the Spanish Grand Prix for OMG to Joe. For this season, he's pretty much been the leading Force India, with Langman lagging a little bit behind, but still having some pretty solid performances this season. But Joe having a really, really torrid time, losing loads of positions at the start of the Spanish Grand Prix last week. And it was a really tough day for the Force India driver after what was looking like a possible double points finish. And as he goes skidding into the Nouvelle chicane, let's go on board with somebody else. We've got P1R Brown in the Williams, just making his way out of the tunnel and into that Nouvelle chicane, not that far behind Joe. At the moment, it is the Ferraris in second and fourth. We've only got one Force India for today's race, with Langman missing out. We've also only got one Williams in this race, with Matt 212 missing out as well. There's a number of teams where we've only got one driver for this weekend. And P1R Brown is actually coming into the pits. He's done his one lap. I think Jason97F1 is on an in-lap right now, so let's take a look at his teammate. Oh, and Jason has retired. Were you looking at him when that happened?
I was literally riding on board with him as soon as he did. He binned it coming out of the casino square. He looked like he tapped the ball on the inside into the casino, and mistakes like that, Justin, obviously cost you, well, more than just a lap time, even the front right tyre of your car. And he found the hard way around Monaco. He's out of qualifying. 6th is the best he can hope for.
Yeah, with a 108.3. Not a terrible time, but nearly a second off of the time set by Vlache Surprise earlier in the session. So he's definitely not going to be moving up the order, as we see Pinecone make his way through the chicane coming out of the swimming pool section. We saw Zelchi get very nicely out of the way, as Surprise improves his time even further, finds a couple of tenths, and sets a 107.257. Pinecone crosses the line, and it looks like did not improve on that one. And is he going to have enough fuel left? His light's not on yet, so he might be continuing on for another lap. It seems everybody is going on to the Hypersofts, except for MVP Zero, who is currently on the Ultrasofts. He's only 8th quickest at the moment. And I can find out if that was on Hypersofts. Yes, it was. So MVP Zero, podium finisher earlier this season. I believe it was in China that he finished on the podium. He's going to head back out on the Ultrasofts and see if he can better that 108.7 and give himself that harder compound tire for the start of the race, as Pinecone has caught right up to the back of Surprise. The other Mercedes of EVR Reynolds is missing. I do fear that has lost Pinecone a bit of time as he slices his way through to back into the swimming pool section, through the high-speed chicane, the right and then left. And we'll see if he actually is going to come to the end of this lap. I have a feeling he's going to be heading straight back into the pits, and he sure does. And I think Surprise is going to follow him right in. He sure is. Evo has... Did he actually improve that lap? Or was,
yeah.
He did. Oh, yeah, that's right, because it was a 107.9. So he would have been about 16 thousandths away from Surprise had Surprise not bettered his time. But he went and did it. So about 2 tenths between the two of them so far.
Yeah, it's quite close, but when you consider the gap between Evo and Joe, that's quite sizable, half a second. And when you consider this is a 67-second lap, some half a second in these Formula 1 cars is quite astounding. That is a pretty big gap to have between all those guys. Joe is, yeah, you say 12 hundredths of a second ahead of Leopard at the moment, and that's the battle for P3. They won't be looking for bragging rights on the front row, it looks like, and that's the place you want to be. As I said, the front row is obviously the best place to be around this circuit. You can overtake around here, but you will be getting your elbows out, and you will be getting maybe a little bit dirty perhaps, but we don't want to be seeing too many stewards' inquiries by the end of this evening. So yeah, obviously Evo and Surprise keeping themselves in the best positions, but 0.2 of a second is some time to find for Evo and Ferrari.
Yep. And if anyone could do it, certainly Evo would be the man. Again, our championship leader currently with 4 wins out of 5. In that 5th race, he did pick up a podium. So he is yet to finish lower than 3rd so far in Season 16 of Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. OMG, it's Joe making his way through the final couple of corners. He does have Leopard just ahead, but I don't think it's going to be hindering him too much. If anything, he may even be getting a whiff of a slipstream coming off of that Ferrari as he crosses the line. He is the 3rd man to dip into the 107s with a 107.720. Just under half a second off of Surprise and comfortably 0.3 ahead of Leopard now. However, Leopard, I believe, was he was just starting his lap right as Joe was finishing his. So we'll see if the former driver of the day, LCR Leopard, he was the driver of the day in Baku. We'll see if he can improve and maybe put himself alongside his teammate. I don't think he's going to be threatening that front row based on the pace we've seen from him so far this season and indeed so far in this session. However, Leopard could definitely be a threat to Joe. Oh, that seemed like a corner cut to me through the Nouvelle chicane, but I'm not a steward. Oh, a big heavy contact as well with the barrier at the outside of Tabac, which is quite honestly the best corner of the entire circuit, if you ask me. Makes his way through Raskas, and he is going to come into the pits. So yeah, he must have made a mistake at that chicane, had his lap time invalidated, and he's going to head back in and try it another time. Surprisingly, Jason97F1 only lost 1 position so far in this session. Let's go on board with the McLaren of MVP Zero, who is currently on the Ultra Softs. I believe he's the only person to go out there on the Ultra Softs so far in this session. And I believe he's just coming to the end of a time lap. It's a 104 as he opens the DRS on the start-finish straight, if you can call it that. And he does improve. He improves. It's a 108.404 and on the harder compound tires. So that is good news for the McLaren driver. He's not the only McLaren driver. Yeah.
Yeah, just a thought though. I mean, it could be different for you, but for me, apparently he's on Hypersoft tyres. So has he done that lap on Hypersofts? I'm not too sure. For me, he's on Hypersoft tyres.
Oh, I was looking at Zelchi. Yeah, my mistake. I was looking at Zelchi on the Ultra Softs. My mistake. My old eyes have deceived me once again. But he did improve. But he didn't gain any positions. He's still behind Jason97F1.
Absolutely right. And Zelchi, I think, is on a lap on those Ultra Soft tyres. He's ending the first sector. And, of course, those Ultra Soft tyres are going to be so much better for the race, perhaps. I mean, it's not too big a difference. Tyre wear isn't huge around here. It's just the temperatures that we always go on about. It's just these guys, I mean, most drivers, and I'm not going to criticise them in any way, shape or form, but every driver I've seen of this game so far, the tyre temperatures has been their worst nightmare. If there's anything they moan about, it's those ludicrous tyre temperatures. And I've experienced them, and they're not very nice either. So, yeah, these guys, you know, the harder compound tyre is obviously the better tyre, to be honest, the better race tyre. There's obviously a race tyre, and there's easier qualifying tyre, and Zelchi actually pits, so he's not going to finish his lap on those ultra soft tyres. This will be where we see the final few runs in qualifying.
Yep, just over 2 minutes remaining. MVP Zero is crossing the line, and we've got loads of cars out on their outlap as well. Evo, Joe, Leopard, Pinecone, and Brown all on an outlap, all on the Hypersoft tires. Zelchi still the only person to have run the Ultra Softs. Let's see. Okay, so his lap was set with the Ultra Softs, and he's the only driver to have set his fastest time using the Ultra Softs. This is currently showing what they set their best time with, not what's currently fitted. So Could be good news for the Renault driver. He doesn't have very many cars behind him to worry about. That much is for sure. And at the moment, it looks like Cryo Lockdown and Car Powerful are going to be easily starting from the back, as they're already out of the session and they're already out of the top 10. So let's focus on the top guys. Surprise is on an out lap. Evo is just starting his lap as he makes the climb up the hill towards Massenet. Stays to the right-hand side, moves over to the left, misses his apex ever so slightly. Bit of a double apex there. Oh, and Pinecone has crashed out at the exit of Casino, and I think that's definitely put Evo off of his lap. I wonder if anyone else... Yeah, I think we just caught Joe being affected by Pinecone's car at the exit of that corner as well, too. So it could mean that none of these guys are actually going to improve on their times, which is unfortunate. No, it's extremely unfortunate for Pinecone, though. The Haas driver, of course, because of course he's not going to be able to improve in session. That looked like a scruffy... Yeah, and it's a retirement from Joe, so clearly that stricken Haas car at the exit of Casino has indeed impeded him. And I have a feeling it's a very similar scenario for Evo, because, yeah, it doesn't... Yeah, he's not pushing. He's backed up.
He's backed off, though, but I don't think it's for the reason that we're thinking. He's backed off because he smashed the wall on the inside into the swimming pool section. He just hit it so hard and then went straight across the curb, and that's probably why he's backed. I mean, yeah, obviously the Pinecone incident's obviously going to have put him off as well, so only Leopard really could beat the Mercedes of Surprise, but he needs to find a bit of time, doesn't he, at the moment, Leopard? He's currently standing fourth. He's about half a second off of Surprise, so it's going to be close between these two. Surprise is rounding his lap off. I think Leopard did finish his lap. I'm not too sure whether that will be his final run, but Surprise is going through the final corner now into the Anthony Nose corner. Will he improve on a 107.2? He's running up towards the line. It's a really quick dash. He does to a 107.1. He's rubbing salt into the wounds of his competitors, and he is on pole for this Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, and I got to say, heading into Season 16, Valachi Surprise is one of the drivers that that Andy and I had picked for race winners in this season. We really thought that he was going to be the main competitor for Evo, rather than Simon, because Simon, of course, is the only other person to pick up a race win so far in Season 16 on this Xbox One platform for the F1 League. But Surprise has had 3 second-place finishes, so that would be 54 points that he's got on the board at the moment, which is, I mean, Surprise would have 115 at the moment with his 4 wins and a 3rd place. So, but that is a dominant gap, 3/10 gap. I don't think we've seen a gap that big yet in Season 16. I'm pretty sure that is new for us. Evo will start alongside the Mercedes in his Ferrari on the front row of the grid with his teammate right behind him in 3rd position. Then the lone Force India of OMG, it's Joe, in 4th position. The Haas of Pinecone, the Williams of P1R Brown, Jason 97 F1 in the other Haas from 7th, MVP 0 in 8th position. Zelchi and the Renault on the Ultrasofts will start from 9th position ahead of the other McLaren of Team Vodka Shot. So that is the grid heading into the race. And, of course, we will have the formation lap, and then the lights will go out for the Monaco Grand Prix. And at the moment, it's looking like clear skies, and it's looking like a fantastic opportunity for Surprise to pick up his first win of the season, which he so desperately needs. He really needs to get his way back into this championship. Had some rotten luck at rounds 3 and 4. Really bad qualifying sessions as well he's had this year, mainly due to like technical issues. It's not so much his performance that's been a problem. He's just had some issues with the game, especially during qualifying this season, which has really left him down. He's had some incredible recovery drives, going from outside the top 10 up into a 2nd place position. And he's been driving really well. It's just rotten luck. So Surprise will start from pole position, though, today at the Monaco Grand Prix. And you have to say, James, it is definitely his best chance this season at picking up that win.
Of course it is. I mean, all he has to really do is just be that bus in the way for everyone else trying to get past him. He needs to just make that the Mercedes rear wing as wide as he possibly can. But most crucial thing, I think, maybe about the Monaco Grand Prix, especially in the race, is the start itself. The launch is crucial. And because pole position does start on that right-hand side, it is the right-hand side for them, the left-hand side as we look at it, he's on the inside line. So into turn 1, he should be okay. I mean, it's the launch that, like I say, Sandoval is so short. It's such a short run to turn 1. He cannot afford to botch his startup, and he will just need to defend, I feel, for this Grand Prix. He may not defend because he does have quite good pace from what I've seen in other leagues of him around this circuit, but he's not in a position where he needs to overtake as many cars as perhaps he has had to do over the course of this season. So it's a chance for Evo, it's a chance for surprise, more so for surprise, but Evo will be right on his heels into Sandoval. That could be where the race is won, but I don't want to put any bets on just yet. This is Monaco after all.
Right, yeah. Yeah, anything can and probably will happen. As we said, though, it does look pretty dry, so I don't know if we're going to get any sort of precipitation in today's race. I should say, though, that I think if I'm Veloce Surprise, I think I would actually be glad to have Evo behind me compared to almost pretty much any driver on the grid, because Evo is a meticulous driver. He's not going to go for an overtake unless he's certain that he can make the overtake, or at least he can race cleanly side by side with whoever he's attempting to overtake. So as far as having challengers behind you at a circuit like Monaco, where things can get really dirty really quickly, I would say Evo is probably the best person to have behind you. So it is going to be the Hypersofts for the top 8 cars, the Ultrasofts for the lone Renault of Zelchi, and also for Cryo Lockdown and Car Powerful. Team Vodka Shot in 10th position will also be on the Hypersoft. So 9 Hypersoft runners, 3 Ultrasoft runners as we prepare to go racing here for the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's see if we can get a good angle. There we go. We've got the lights coming on. We've got Veloce Surprise on pole position. Can he hold on? He'll have the inside line into turn 1. Not much wheel spin for the front runners. And it looks like Leopard is actually going to be shooting up the inside on his teammate, but no, he thinks better of it. Rather goes defensive from OMG. It's Joe, who's gotten an incredible run coming out of turn 1 and up the hill. And OMG, it's Joe, is already up into a podium position. And VSR Pinecone is really threatening that second Ferrari for what is now 4th position. An absolutely blazing start for the Force India and for the Haas as well. Oh, I believe I spoke a little too soon. Let me get down to Pinecone. Oh, he's done a Rosberg. He's done the Rosberg, and he's gone off at the runoff area at Mirabeau, and that's going to drop the Haas driver right down into last position. It was such a good start for him, but or rather, it was such a terrible start for Leopard there.
Absolutely. I think he had a really good launch, to be fair to him. He didn't look like he had a poor start at all, because he was alongside his teammate of Evo into turn 1, but couldn't actually hold it. He just couldn't stick on the inside where it mattered. Joe was just having none of it. He thought, let's go right round the outside of him. What a brave decision it was from the Force India to go ahead of him there as well. Crucial in this Grand Prix, because it now means he can stay with the pace setters that are Surprise and Evo, who lead this Grand Prix ahead of Joe and Leopard in 4th place. Joe's got a bit of a dodgy run coming out of Anthony Nose. Let's see what his run is like up towards Massenet.
Yep, it's going to be, he's got the Ferrari right behind him, and he's already starting to lose out on the slipstream, and already a 3-second time penalty for Cryo Lockdown after just 1 lap. Still got 38 laps to go, bro. That's going to be a difficult one for him, but OMG, it's Joe does hang on at the top of the hill and begins the descent down into the slowest corner on the F1 calendar. Oh, and P1R Brown practically pushing that Ferrari through the hairpin. So it looks like Leopard might lose another 3-second time penalty for Cryo Lockdown. He's currently in 10th position. You'll see a lot of cars have gained 1 position, and that's because of that mistake of Pinecone. However, it is worth pointing out, I think, Pinecone obviously lost a number of positions as a result of that, but he's still right at the back of this train. His race isn't over just yet.
It's not compromised at all, because there can be carnage, but Lockdown's having an absolutely woeful afternoon, isn't he? He's just gone off at the Novell chicane. He's had 2 3-second time penalties. It equates to 6 seconds worth of penalties. That's quite a feat, actually, around Monaco. It's not easy to get corner cuts around here, and somehow he's managed it in the space of 2 laps of this Grand Prix. That lead between the top 2 is staying at around half a second at the moment. Leopard isn't closing in as much as Joe. Well, maybe it's quite even between these guys for 3rd down to 5th. P1R Brown is doing a good job just to stick in there with Leopard in the Ferrari, but dirty air, of course, and the tyre temperature. Go on again, Justin, about those tyre temperatures. They'll be ludicrously hot now as they sit right underneath the rear wings of each other around this Monaco street circuit. An awful place to overtake, and quite awful on the front end of the car as well.
Fully expecting to see some carbon fiber being shed at some point during this race. We do have DRS active now, of course, as we are on lap 3. No detection, though, until the end of the lap, so we won't see that, that wing opening up until we get to the end of Sector 3. Leopard is right on the back of that Force India. As I mentioned, though, P1R Brown actually doing really well. He's been doing fantastic. Kind of like a top 5 driver, been sort of picking up the pieces ever since Baku, really, was when P1R Brown started to come into his own. And maybe that's just giving him that confidence. And Zelchi now picking up a 3-second time penalty as well. So we've already got a number of drivers. So I think a quarter of the grid has already picked up at least 1 time penalty. And Leopard, with that DRS, was able to close up to the back of the Force India pretty close, but not enough. And that's the thing. It's just such a short straight, and you really need to be already past. It's so difficult going side by side into San Devote, which really just highlights that overtake from OMG It's Joe at the start of the race, because that was really some brave and incredible driving from the Force India driver to move up into that podium position. At the front, we haven't really been talking about it, but Surprise is not breaking away from Evo. It's just about 6/10 between the two of them. It is already 3.5 seconds, though. These two guys at the front are pulling out at about a second per lap difference, as we've got yellow flags in Sector 3. That's an interesting one. I didn't even know there was a car in Sector 3. I thought they were all in Sector 1 and 2 at this stage, so that's a strange one. But it seems that Surprise really not able to break away, or is just not bothered. Because as we've been saying this entire time, it is so incredibly difficult to make an overtake here. And as I said just before the race started, and Surprise is already done. Does he have some sort of damage? Is he getting a replacement wing? Can you take a look for me and see if he's getting a replacement?
No, he's not getting a replacement wing, but actually one of the other Ferraris is in as well. This may be the pit stop window, Justin. A lot of guys have come into the pits. The Force India, the Ferrari, the Haas is in as well. There's carnage in the pit lane as well. You can absolutely, there's so many cars just darting out the pit lane there. But it's crucial now, though, for Evo. If he does pit this lap, he has to nail this in lap. And this is the first time this Grand Prix will have some clean air as well. So hopefully he can get it all sorted out and potentially could undercut the race leader in Surprise, but let's just see how it all pans out over the course of this lap.
And I mean, if anyone can do an overcut, it's Evo. And I feel like I say stuff like, you know, if anyone can do this, it's Evo. And it's just because the man is so incredible at driving. But he really takes care of his tires. I mean, he's the complete package. He you know, he can take care of his tires. He can be quick in qualifying. He can be quick in the race. He doesn't make mistakes hardly ever. We saw a 3-second time penalty last time out at the Spanish Grand Prix, and I nearly had a heart attack when I saw that from Evo. That was incredible stuff. Yeah, I do expect him to come in now, though. Yeah, I didn't think Evo was going to be so brave as to stay out an additional lap beyond those other guys, as the Williams of P1R Brown comes into the pits. MVP 0 has elected to stay out on those Hypersofts for another lap. Unsurprisingly, Zelchi is staying out as well, too. VSR Pinecone is going to come in as well. And again, a number of cars in the pits. We'll see what this has done with Joe and Leopard, if there's going to be any sort of changes of position for these guys. And it looks like Joe is going to comfortably come out ahead of P1R Brown. Or is he? P1R Brown has jumped the both of them. An incredible drive from P1R Brown. He's now effectively in that podium position. I can't believe that. Again, I gotta say, Brown has been driving really, really well the past few races or so, and I just wonder if it's just that momentum that he's carrying. You know, he feels that bit better and better, or maybe he's just a specialist around street circuits. You know, we've had a couple of street circuits recently with Baku and now Monaco. So, but P1R Brown moves himself up into an effective podium position. It's just under 5 seconds between himself and Evo, and it's now, crucially, a 2.3 second gap or thereabouts between Surprise and Evo. So the gap has grown between our two leaders. The gap has also continued to grow between the two leaders and the rest of the field as MVP 0 comes into the pits, and Joe has been jumped by Brown.
Absolutely right. It's a brilliant strategy there from the Williams, managing to just get ahead of those two. That's quite weird that would happen. It's weird considering how close Evo was to the back of Surprise, but he didn't gain that same advantage. Now, I was checking the outlap of Surprise, and actually he had a little bit of traffic ahead of him. So that's a bit weird that actually Brown's managed that. That does go to show just how good an outlap that must have been for the Williams. That was a stellar outlap from him, and now finds himself in the podium spot. But yeah, look at that, it's now 2.1 seconds or thereabouts between Evo and Surprise. I just can't believe how he's managed to get a gap that big. That's quite a sizable lead that he's got. But I've just been checking the lights of him. Oh, sorry, Surprise, who's driving around. It's just how much he's taking into to back. He's throwing that car in and he's just hitting the wall every time I've seen so far. If he does it again, it'll be third time a charm. Is he going to do the same? Of course he is, into to back. And yeah, that's not going to be doing him any good. We can't see the front wing with that with the halo, but I'm sure that may be taking a beating, of course, in this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I thought Leopard might have some front wing damage, which is why I've had the camera focused on him as the other McLaren now pits of Team Vodka Shot. I was looking at Leopard's front wing, though, because he definitely had a bit of a clattering against the outside barrier at the exit of Saint Devote, so... and that lost him a significant amount of time. In fact, it lost him DRS at the end of lap 7 as we start lap number 8 now. So Leopard losing out. Joe is right onto the back of P1R Brown. Car powerful now, picking up a 3-second time penalty from outside the top 10 as well, too, as they make their way through Mirabeau and into the Grand Hotel hairpin, Los hairpin, whatever it's being called these days, the first gear hairpin. We might as well just call it that. But Joe is sticking to the back of that Williams, and actually, crucially, Leopard has now brought himself back into this fight. So OMG, it's Joe losing a bit of time to P1R Brown as they make their way through Sector 2, get into Sector 3 now, or towards Sector 3 anyway. And Leopard has brought himself back up into this fight now. It's just over 2 seconds between Surprise and Evo. Zelchi is still out there on his Ultrasofts. Again, one of only 3 drivers to start on the Ultrasofts. Crucially, though, the other 2, Car Powerful and Cryo Lockdown, already came in for the Supersofts. That's a surprising one. As we look backwards on board with the Force India, we see that DRS open as he tries to close up on the Williams. But again, just such a short distance from turn 19 down to turn 1. It's very, very difficult, and especially with such similar tires. And in fact, Joe has 1 lap older tires than the Williams, so it's just going to make things that slight bit more difficult for him. We have not really seen a ton of overtakes, but we certainly expected it. I gotta say, as we approach 1/4 distance in this race, though, we haven't seen any major incidents. We've seen more incidents so far in qualifying than we have in the race.
Absolutely right. It's quite very, very good driving, we could say, from all the drivers at the moment, and you'd expect that, of course, but you've got to remember, I was just about to say, because you're saying how short the run is into turn 1 at Zandvoort, and you're absolutely right to say that, but if you're Joe now, you must be thinking, I've got to size him up throughout the course of the lap. You can't be thinking, well, if I get a good exit here, I'm going to have him into Zandvoort, because it's not going to happen. It just is not going to happen. You need to size them up, I think, throughout the whole of the lap, and it's so difficult around here, because we were discussing before the race started, that you need to get a rhythm round here, and it's quite a good feeling, I said, to get a rhythm round here. It is good to be consistent around Monaco, but yeah, like I say, they just need, it's going to be so difficult for them to do that, because you can't really go offline around here, because you lose all the grip, and it's not really a circuit built for these cars, I don't think, Monaco. It's like driving a bus around a multi-story car park. It doesn't work in any sense.
Yeah, it is a difficult circuit, especially for these big boy 2018 cars. Of course, they're bigger than even the recent hybrid era cars, with wider tires as well too and stuff. So it can be really, really difficult for all the drivers. And I gotta say, the top guys, Surprise, Evo, Brown, Joe, Leopard, they're all doing really, really fantastically to keep everything out of the barriers. And Joe losing some more time to P1R Brown. It keeps happening, actually, right around the start of Sector 2, going into the Grand Hotel hairpin and out of Portier and through the tunnel and stuff. And then he starts to close it back, though, and Joe will get that little bit closer. Yeah, it's down to just 7 tenths now. He's found a couple tenths now. It's less than 7 tenths as they make their way through the final couple of corners. 6.5 tenths now as they cross the line. DRS open now, of course, for the Force India. So it seems that their cars or their driving styles are just set up that little bit differently, and they're just, the Williams is that little bit quicker in Sector 2, and maybe the Force India that little bit quicker in Sector 3 as MVP 0 has come into the pits. Is that his second stop already? I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that is a second stop for MVP 0, so it seems that some sort of mistake has befallen the McLaren as he makes a second stop at the end of lap 10, which is certainly not going to help him. That's going to drop him way down into 12th position, and I'm certain that's not what he would have wanted. So Looking at Pinecone at the moment, he's looking pretty close to Team Vodka Shot at the moment for 8th position. Zelchi has been overtaken by both Surprise and Evo, and in fact, he's got P1R Brown not too far behind him, just over 5 seconds, so I would expect the Williams to start closing that gap down, and unfortunately, I missed that. What's that?
Yeah, Zelchi's coming to the pits.
Oh, he sure has.
Actually, I think the reason was actually because he was a buffer between Surprise and Evo as they came into the Lowe's hairpin, so there may have been a little bit more time that Evo has found, but we just can't see it because he's been stuck in traffic. Zelchi pits, he's 6th. Where will he come out in relation to Jason? Jason's just coming down pit lane now, so it's not going to be quite close enough. He's also come out behind Pinecone, but he is on some fresh super soft tyres, and the super soft tyres work quite well around here, so he might be in a little bit of luck in the Renault car. But the top 2 is now 1.7 seconds, 1.6 seconds as soon as I say it. But you were talking about the different contrasting styles between Joe and Brown, and actually I noticed, you can see that's quite evident. Brown is a much more smooth, I think, more calculated driver than Joe. I've watched Joe for nearly a couple of years now, but he's very aggressive on the loud pedal, does like to throw the rear end around in the Force India, and that's probably why he's losing so much time in Sector 2. Bar any mistakes, of course, which I've just seen in the Novo chicane, he does seem to struggle with the rear end of that Force India.
And Cryo Lockdown picking up what seems like a 5th or 6th penalty at this point. Really just not going his way, as he's already outside of the top 10, even before you factor in all the penalties he's picked up. At the moment, the closest battle is for 7th position, with Pinecone again applying that pressure to the McLaren of Team Vodka Shot as they come around to start lap number 13. And yeah, nobody else is actually within DRS range except for Lockdown. He's within DRS range of Car Powerful, and actually it's rather close, and that's actually because Car Powerful has disconnected, so that is why. But at least that did allow Cryo Lockdown to make that overtake nice and easy. I tell you, there's no overtake easier to make than when the car in front of you is ghosted. That really helps things along, and Cryo Lockdown moves up into 10th, pending whatever penalties he already has and whatever penalties he may yet still pick up. Team Vodka Shot, though, just about moving to within DRS range of Jason 97 F1. Jason's another one of those drivers that just drives really, I wouldn't expect any major mistakes from Jason. He's not a lightning quick driver. I would almost never expect Jason to pick up pole position at any of these races, but when it comes to race pace and just being consistent, that is something that Jason excels at. So I would assume that Jason is probably going to be feeling pretty good in that 6th place position, despite having 2 cars within 1.5 seconds of him. Zelchi, as we mentioned, is on the freshest tires out of everybody, currently running in 9th position and just 2 seconds adrift of this battle for 6th position. So he could certainly involve himself. Let's see how much fresher those tires are. In fact, yeah, 6 laps fresher than they are on the Haas of Pinecone, 4 laps fresher than the McLaren of Vodka Shot, and 7 laps fresher, actually, than Jason 97 F1, who came into the pits rather early at the, I believe at the end of lap 4 or 5. So he is on the oldest tires out of those 4 drivers at the moment, with the Renault of Zelchi on the freshest of all of them, and actually closing in rather quickly now. He's brought that gap down to less than 1.5 seconds, so this could become a 4-way battle pretty soon here.
Absolutely, but the other battle I'm looking at right now is Joe and Leopard. They're back together again. It's just under half a second between those two. So back follows for Leopard, and he just needs to stay within that within range of Joe. I mean, this is maybe the best opportunity you get when you're around 0.3 of a second, because then you just got to nail the last couple of corners, and he's going to just do that, isn't he? He's got to stick right on in there behind that Force India, and it's so frustrating for a driver when you're sat behind a car around Monaco. There's nothing worse. I don't think there's a worse feeling in the entire season than knowing that you're so much faster, but you just cannot get the move done. I've seen moves made into Massenet. We may see one now, though, with Leopard. He's right on the gearbox of Joe. He's thinking about it, but thinks better of it into Massenet in the casino that follows. He probably won't go for a move just yet. He's going to be darting in the rear mirrors of Joe, but too much, I would have thought, because, of course, he's got to make the corners around Monaco. There are barriers that are quite prominent around here, so he'll be thinking quite wisely about his overtaking opportunities and whereabouts he can think about making an overtake himself. Novo chicane, I'm thinking Sandoval potentially, and if you're really brave, try Miramar.
Yep, and it may take some serious bravery from the Ferrari driver if he wants to try and move up into that 4th place position. It is very close between the two of them. VSR Pinecone, as well as they make their way into the Nouvelle Chicane, is right tucked underneath the rear wing of that McLaren ahead. Team Vodka Shot is, for the 2nd race in a row now, I believe, the leading McLaren. We kind of assumed MVP 0 was going to be the lead McLaren driver for this season after picking up that podium in China after what was a fantastic drive, but Team Vodka Shot really bringing it together the past couple of races, working out well for him. He's pressuring Jason 97F1 as they start lap number 16 now.
Oh, he's down the inside. Sorry, Leopard nearly made the move into Massenet. I said it was going to be close and you could try it if you dare, but he damn well nearly did. We enter towards the end of the first sector, thinks about a move on Joe. Thinks better of it. Into there, and he's got so close. It's close there, but there he goes down the inside. What a move for the Ferrari. He's going to get it stopped. He is, but he's going to barge Joe out of the way. I said you had to get your elbows out, Justin, but what a fantastic move from the Ferrari. Maybe the first one we've seen on track so far.
Oh, and a 3-second time penalty for Evo for the 2nd race in a row. We get a 3-second time penalty for the championship leader, which means that he not only needs to overtake Surprise, but he needs to build a 3-second gap over a driver who was significantly quicker in qualifying. So that is very surprising. It seems it's all falling apart for the Ferrari driver. Thankfully for him, he does have enough pace. He's over 7 seconds ahead of Williams. Yeah.
So, sorry, Joe just smashed the wall coming out of the swimming pool section, went sideways. He's so lucky he's got his front wing on that Force India. It's crazy how he's kept that all out of the walls. But, yeah. Karen, what are you saying? Pinecone's getting close to Vodka Shot as well. This is a really good scrap for P6 as well. So all hotting up, all in the space of, well, lap 17 of this Grand Prix. This is where it's going to kick off, Justin. This is where we're going to see some overtakes. Let's just hope we see them. And there's some fantastic moves around as well. And
don't forget, guys, that you can vote for your driver of the day. That should be opening up within the next 3 laps or so. Around lap 20 is when that usually opens up. So make sure you check the chat. There should be a link in chat from one of our lovely moderators that will point you to where you can vote for your driver of the day. And I got to say, the big candidate for me at the moment is Leopard, just because of that overtake on OMG It's a Joe into the hairpin. I mean, it was so well done. It really was incredible. And respect to Joe as well, too, for, not just barging his way through or anything like that. You really got to give respect to him as well, too. Because that was not easy for either of the drivers, but they really made it work. Yellow flags out in Sector 1, Sector 2. We are currently on board with the Renault. Oh, and it's a 3-second time penalty for Joe as well. So even the top 5 drivers are starting to fall victim to the 3-second time penalties. Kyle Lockdown picking up a 13th, 14th penalty. I'm not sure. I assume at this point, because I know Cryo Lockdown pretty well. I've been commentating on him for a while. Ooh, big oversteer moment for Zelchi out of the final corner. That's going to drop him off the back of VSR Pinecone. But Lockdown just not having a great day out there. He may be having some issues with his wheel, or I can only imagine internet problems. I can only speculate, but that is not the kind of driving that I have come to expect from Cryo Lockdown. And I think he's, 5-second stop-go penalty. So I think at some point you get so many penalties that they just disqualify you. So, I mean, we're not even at half distance, so he may actually be in real trouble with that happening.
Well, Justin, you probably know more than I do, but has that ever happened in AOR before?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
That's quite a weird one. I mean, at the moment, it's getting so many penalties, may as well be back in Australia. There's so much that he's got at the moment, but it must be some sort of issue for him. He's come in, he's changed his front wing, he's not having a good day at all out there in the Red Bull. Shame for him, but these races happen now and again, and I'm sure he won't be wanting them to happen too often either.
Pinecone picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. His teammate Jason has definitely not picked up a time penalty. I don't believe Team Vodka Shot has picked up a time penalty, but I believe Zelchi has. So Pinecone isn't going to lose his position to Zelchi as a result of that 3-second time penalty, but he is now effectively 3.5 seconds behind the McLaren of Team Vodka Shot, who is really putting the pressure onto the back of that Haas Jason 97F1 as they get to the top of the hill, make their way through Massenet and Casino, and begin to descend the hill into Mirabeau. And Jason holds on to that 6th place position for now, but Team Vodka Shot clearly looking quicker with the 3-lap fresher tires. It's unsurprising that he is the quicker car, but I mean, he was practically pushing the Haas through as they got to the top of Beau Rivage and got into Massenet. It was less than 2/10 between the two of them. So Team Vodka Shot really looking like he has some fantastic pace as they get down the hill into the Nouvelle Chicane. and there's a corner cut warning for Leopard. That was just coming out of the swimming pool section. Joe does have a 3-second time penalty, though, so that's not going to do anything as far as the battle for 4th is concerned. And he's almost 7 seconds behind P1R Brown, who I've only just now realized really the job that P1R Brown is doing ever since making that jump into 3rd position after doing an overcut, which is impressive enough as it is. He's now built up an almost 7-second gap down to 4th position. So P1R Brown really cementing himself here as best of the rest. When you factor in Evo's penalty, Leopard Brown is actually just over 4 seconds adrift. I'm not expecting him to close that in on Evo, especially with the exact same age of tires, but I mean, if Evo continues to struggle the way we've been seeing in this race so far, with just over half the race still to run, we could potentially see some more battling. But with that 3-second penalty, I have to imagine Surprise is really just going to focus on having a nice, clean race.
Absolutely right, and P1R Brown is just interesting to note. He's only got 1 warning this entire Grand Prix.
Wow.
He's the cleanest of the few so far. Jason 97 has got himself a penalty as well.
Wow.
And, yeah, that's not regular, is it? Jason's not usually the sort to get penalties. So
No.
P6 on the road at the moment. Cryo Lockdown, look at that. Fastest lap time on the Hypersoft tyres, a 109.7 there, and I'm sure that's what he'll be looking for. Unfortunately for him, he won't be getting a DHL fastest lap award, but I'm sure it'll go down in the records, I suppose, on this particular season, on this particular day, that he got the fastest lap time around the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yep, we do keep track of that sort of thing, and also I am keeping track of Evo, who has closed in. Again, I'm not expecting Evo to overtake Surprise and then build a 3-second gap. However, stranger things have happened in Apex Online Racing, so I'm not going to totally discount it as a possibility. What I would like to see from these two is maybe a little bit of action without any carbon fiber being shed or anything like that. Would enjoy a little bit of side-by-side action, because really, going into Season 16, these are the two guys that we expected to be kind of battling up at the front. Unfortunately, today we don't have VSR Simon in the race, so it is really just these two guys. It's unfortunate, because that could have very easily been a 3-way battle, I think, for the lead of this race if Simon had been here today, and hopefully we'll see him for the next race, but in the meantime, we'll focus on this. Evo has closed in pretty significantly with a little helping hand from the DRS down that main straight. It's now less than 5 tenths. It's actually about 4 tenths as they make their way through Casino and down the hill towards Mirabeau. Very, very close between the two of them. Similar sort of gap between Jason and Team Vodka Shot. And OMG, it's Joe picking up a 2nd time penalty, which would do absolutely nothing to where he is at the moment, because Jason 97 F1 already has a 3-second time penalty. So MVP 0 moves ahead of Zelchi because Zelchi is into the pits. That's an interesting one. I can't imagine that was planned for the Renault driver.
Absolutely not, but I'm sure he can definitely go to the end on those ultra soft tyres if he manages his tyres well enough. I'm sure those ultra softs could go, I reckon, the distance between now and the end of the Prix. It's easily doable. Well, maybe not easily doable, but it's doable. Yeah, but that battle for P6 is still raging on between Jason and Team Vodka Shot. Pinecone and Cryo Lockdown has finally given up from this Grand Prix. He is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. He has got the fastest lap of the race so far, so you know, he'll be happy with that, I suppose. But let's just see what this battle will emerge as well. Evo is now only half a second, just under half a second away from Surprise in the lead, though, and that is going to be one to watch, I'm sure, as the laps unfold.
Yep. They're just making their way into Mirabeau now, so let's rejoin that battle for 6th position. I'm on board with Vodka Shot. No, he's not going to be even. He's getting several car lengths back as they make their way through Saint-Devote. VSR Pinecone as well in a similar sort of gap, so it has returned to a 3-way battle for 6th position. Again, Jason 97 F1 and VSR Pinecone with penalties. Team Vodka Shot, I don't believe, has picked up a penalty. I don't recall seeing his name come up, so at the moment it does seem that Team Vodka Shot might actually be the one picking up this 6th place if things were to continue as they are. Currently lap 23 of this Monaco Grand Prix for the Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 League on the Xbox platform. Balachi Surprise leading, but only just. Actually, they're just coming to the end of the lap, so let's go on board with Evo as we finish lap 23, start lap 24, and nope, nothing doing there. He's going to have to stick behind the Mercedes into turn 1, and I don't think he's going to have the overspeed as they climb the hill into Beau Rivage, and then Massenet, no, he's not going to have enough speed to get alongside the Mercedes, and really just not enough room. I mean, 2 cars will just about fit through this circuit, and I do mean just about. So, and as I said earlier, and I'm going to keep restating this, Evo is one of those types of drivers where he's not going to do anything stupid. He's going to make the overtake when he's certain that he can make the overtake cleanly. So I don't expect any sort of dive bombs from Evo, and it's going to be really difficult for him to set up an overtake on Surprise, who was quickest, obviously, in qualifying over that 1-lap pace. And Surprise is looking nice and clean through the Nouvelle chicane as well. I'm not expecting any major issues. Now, one thing that we did see last week in the Spanish Grand Prix was we saw Surprise disconnect for a short period of time. And if something like that were to happen to the Mercedes driver, well, then we could definitely see the lead change hands, and we could see Evo build that 3-second gap.
Absolutely right. I've seen it in the past as well, as I say, in other league races, he's done just that from winning positions. It's not too dissimilar for him, unfortunately. That's the way it is for him. But yeah, look at Evo now. He's right on the back as they head up to Beau Rivage and towards Massenet. They go again, and he's just, as you say, those cars are just not narrow enough, actually. They're just not narrow enough to get the moves done. Or if the track's too that way, it's definitely the track's too narrow. The car's too wide. But yeah, he just cannot get that move done just yet. He won't think about it into the lows hairpin. But look at the change in line from Surprise as well. It's just little things I'm trying to pick up on here. It's just the lows hairpin we just saw there. He was completely cutting it, really. He was 2 wheels all over the curb through the lows hairpin. That's just defending, really. Defending for his life in the lead of this Grand Prix, because little does he know that Evo has a penalty.
Oh!
Now Surprise has a penalty. Here we go, Justin. This is where it's going to get interesting now.
Yep.
Because the top 2 both have penalties.
Yep, that is going to spice things right up, because now it is a straight fight. If Evo gets ahead on circuit, he can win this race with that 3-second time penalty being applied to the leading and only Mercedes driver. Again, EVR Reynolds not taking part as they make their way out of the final corner. DRS open for the Ferrari on the run down towards Saint-Devote. A couple of car lengths still between the 2 of them as they get into the braking zone. Nothing able to happen there as we start lap 26, 2/3 distance coming up at the end of this lap. And there's the 3-second time penalty for Team Vodka Shot. I'm gonna take blame for that one. I believe a commentator cursed him by saying multiple times that he hadn't picked up a penalty yet. So I apologize to Team Vodka Shot for that one. But that does mean, however, that it's a similar situation now in the battle for 6th position as the battle for 1st position. All 3 cars in that battle for 6 now have a 3-second time penalty. So it is even between all of them. So if Team Vodka Shot makes that overtake on Jason, he will get that 6th place position. Similarly for Pinecone, if he can make that overtake on Team Vodka Shot, it'll be the same story there. Surprise seemingly a little bit braver over the chicane. He now, of course, has 2 more warnings before he picks up another penalty. So maybe he's just trying to use those and just extend that gap as much as he can to Evo. But he's just really struggling. I mean, they are nose to tail coming out of the penultimate corner into the final corner. And DRS open again for the Ferrari. He's a little bit closer this time compared to last lap. But again, it's not going to be enough. Can he get a good enough exit out of Saint-Devote to actually make a run on Surprise? No, it looks like the Mercedes, with that slightly better exit, is going to hold on to the lead. Let's go back to the battle for 6th position, as they're now just making their way around the final couple of corners, and we'll see if Vodka Shot is going to do anything. No, I don't think he's going to be close enough. So these are the real battles that we have going on at the moment. Oh, Pinecone is into the pits. Pinecone is into the pits for a 2nd stop and for a new wing. So I imagine that's what sent him into the pits in the first place.
Absolutely, and yeah, that gap between the top 2 is still very, very close. Nothing between them is nip and tuck. But like you said, Evo doesn't go for maybe stupid moves, but around here, you're almost forced to make a stupid move. It's towards the back we go. Look how close he's getting to the back of Surprise. I love how he's driving this Ferrari. I really do. It's not often I see how delicate almost he is with his steering input. It's absolutely phenomenal how smooth he can drive this car. But he is right on the back of Evo. You can see dancing that Mercedes around. Just can he get the grip on the exit of the Anthony Nose corner? Not quite. And towards Saint-Devote we go again. He's just
so close.
So low on the brakes. It's so excruciating for the pair of them. Probably more so for Evo, because he at the moment believes he's probably faster. Into Massenet we go. Thinks better of it as well. This is going to be so close. with only 11 laps of this Grand Prix to go.
Yeah, it is very, very close. And again, just to remind the viewers, and if you've just joined us, Surprise with the 3-second time penalty, so does Evo. Interestingly, P1R Brown's not really dropping off the back. I mentioned before that when you factor in the 3-second time penalty, Brown was about 4 seconds adrift of this leading pair. It's now about 3.6 seconds. So Brown's actually closed in ever so slightly, seemingly because Surprise is lacking in pace. Because you have to admit, the Ferrari of Evo seems like the faster car out of the pair, as we're on board with Evo right now. It's less than 2/10 as they make their way through to back, 150 miles an hour through the swimming pool section, just under 90 miles an hour through that chicane. Oh, he's so desperate. You can see the desperation. Again, Evo's not going to do anything stupid. Oh! No! Yep, and he's going to wait because that is the kind of person that Evo is. And I think that was really a lag moment. Again, I'm riding on board with Evo. I don't think his front wing was actually touching the back of the Mercedes. I think he was just a little bit too close to where it caused almost a lag incident. I'll tell you what that has done, though. That's brought P1R Brown now, because of the time penalties for the top two, he's less than a second adrift of these guys.
What a story that could be. If P1R Brown wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
I'd love that.
Oh, I mean, the story behind it would be crazy because he started, where did he start the grid? He started P6 on the grid, and I said it wasn't possible to win from the front row. I must be joking. He's now 3.5 seconds. If you want to be that guy, he's technically only half a second behind these guys. Yep. If he manages to stay, or continues to close in, this is his race win. What an unbelievable scenes this is around the Monaco Grand Prix. And once again, it never fails to disappoint. Olivier Panis in 96, P1R Brown in AOR. Who knew?
Yeah, incredible stuff. And now he's so close to them, he's almost going to be getting that carrot on a stick effect to where, I mean, he can actually see them on certain parts of the circuit as he was making his way down into the Nouvelle Chicane. He could see them accelerating off towards to back, and that might just be urging the Williams driver on. Again, he is the only Williams, of course, in this race as well, so that would be huge for the team. If he could pick up that win, that would be truly fantastic. We haven't really talked much about Leopard. He's having a really quiet fourth place, about 5.5 seconds ahead to the Williams of Brown, and over 15 seconds down to OMG It's Joe, who, keep in mind, has also picked up some penalties. And also, OMG It's Joe, I think, has some sort of problem, because Jason97 F1 is caught up right to the back of him, and Team Vodka Shot's not that far adrift either. So the battle, what was a three-way battle for sixth, has now transformed into a three-way battle for fifth.
Oh my goodness me, yeah, Jason's getting quite leery behind him as well. He's thinking about going for a move on OMG It's Joe potentially, and he's thinking once again, you've just got to you've got to be quite a wise head around Monaco. You can't be thinking for some deluded move. And Jason, look at it, he's pushing him around to the lows hairpin, and he's just so much quicker, it looks like, than Joe at the moment. He's really struggled since the start of the Grand Prix. Had a really good start, but he's struggled ever since then. He just has not got to grips with this Monaco Grand Prix circuit. I don't think he's done a lot of practice, but yeah, he's just not quite got the pace around here, and that's playing quite a detrimental effect to Jason behind, and of course everyone that follows in Team Vodka Shot. MPV0 is also 6.5 seconds behind. He is on, well, he's not on fresh tyres at all. He's actually on 19-lap old Ultra Cells, so that's going to be a bit of a pain for him.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's much fun driving those around. He's probably certainly feeling those. We're on board with Evo, and he's following Surprise, taking a very different line through that Lowe's hairpin and doing his best. Oh, and crucially, P1R Brown is now within 3 seconds of Evo. Oh, and he's so close. Let me switch to the leader. Oh, yeah, he's less than 3.1 seconds adrift of Surprise. Just over 8 laps remaining in this Grand Prix. It'll be exactly 8 laps as they cross the line to finish lap 31. So this is really, really getting interesting now. And there it is. 2.8 seconds to the leader for the Williams of P1R Brown. And he's on the exact same tires as Evo. And I wonder if essentially Surprise is going to win this race for Brown. Because I think Surprise is holding back Evo right now. And obviously, if Surprise keeps Evo behind and Brown is less than 3 seconds behind, he's going to win the race. So this is really, really shaping up in a very interesting sort of way towards the tail end of this race. It is still very close, once again, for 5th position as well, too, with OMG It's Joe seemingly suffering some sort of issue in the later stages of these races. He's actually just making his way onto the start-finish straight. Pinecone picks up another 3-second penalty. Let's see if Jason can make the move on the Force India. He can't do it into turn 1, and he didn't get a great exit out of Sandevote, so he's not going to be able to do it into Massenet either. Team Vodka Shot really just kind of sitting behind. It's even more difficult for the McLaren in this situation because obviously the car he wants to pass is getting the Slipstream and DRS, whereas Jason is going after a guy that does not have Slipstream and DRS. So as tough as it is for Jason to make the overtake here, it's that little bit more difficult for Vodka Shot.
Absolutely. What you said about surprise actually was, I mean, I kind of agree with it. He's going to try and back him up to maybe allow P1 Brown to win the race. But the other thing you've got to think about is actually, Surprise hasn't won yet this season. So actually, would he try to give up a win to someone else?
Yeah, not on purpose.
Especially considering there's P1 Brown who's also looking for the first win this season. It's quite a weird thing to have. It's 2.5 seconds between himself and Evo, the top few cars now. It's so close. I mean, does he actually win the Grand Prix though? I mean, he does, yeah, he does win the Grand Prix at the moment, and that's all he cares about. Look how much he's closing in at the moment as well. He's really, that time is tumbling down with only 6 laps to go.
Yep, really not much to go in this race. And there you could see, actually, the Williams coming into shot. There he is again, just making his way down towards Portier. So, again, the carrot on the stick sort of effect is going on. Boy, I tell you, it is very close, actually, as Jason, it seems that Joe went wide at Massenet. Jason's going to try and go around the outside at Casino. It's just not worked for him. Team Vodka Shot just hanging back and watching this battle unfold. I'm not sure what happened with Joe there, but clearly he went wide going through Massenet, which allowed Jason 97 F1 to shoot up the inside there, but he couldn't quite get past him, which gave him the outside line for Casino, which is obviously not optimal. Because then it would have also given him the outside lane for Mirabeau as well, which is really, really not optimal. Again, pushing him through the Nouvelle Chicane. Team Vodka Shot just hanging back as it stands right now. Again, if you're just joining us, there are 3-second time penalties for Surprise, Evo. Joe has, if I'm not mistaken, 6 seconds worth of penalties. So here, that's the other thing that we haven't really commented on maybe that much on this battle for 5th position, is that OMG It's Joe would actually finish, as it stands right now, he would finish in 8th. Oh, and a big mistake for Jason 97 F1. That's going to lose that 6th place position for him to Team Vodka Shot, and MVP 0 in the other McLaren wants to relegate him another position. Oh, contact between the two of them, and Jason 97 F1 goes for a spin coming out of Sandevote, and that is going to drop him right down into 9th position behind his teammate, behind the two McLarens, and it's now 6th and 7th position on track. But again, I believe Joe has 6 seconds worth of penalties, whereas Team Vodka Shot only has 3, and I'm not sure how many MVP 0 has. If you want to check on that for me, James, to see how many penalties MVP has. But this is shaping up very interestingly, and I believe, I don't have all the results for the season, but I think that would be the first top 5 finish for Team Vodka Shot. So that would be an incredible result for him. Pinecone is now also right onto the back of this battle, and with the freshest tires out of everybody. He's only on 7-lap-old Ultra Softs, and he is straight onto the back of MVP 0 here. So Pinecone also has some penalties, at least 1. So I'm not sure how that's all going to shake out as we come to the end of lap 34 and start lap 35 with this midfield pack. It is still less than 3 seconds between Surprise and Brown, so at the moment it's looking like the Williams is going to pick up the win. But as far as this 5th place position, it's a big question mark with all the penalties these guys have.
Absolutely right. The other thing you want to look at as well is Joe's front wing. He doesn't have a lot of it, I'll be honest. It's like half a front wing that he's got on the right-hand side of his car. And actually, let's go Pinecone. There's contact between MPV 0 and Pinecone, and I think he's got himself, actually, he's not got any wing damage. He's done quite well.
I don't see any,
But yeah, MPV 0 only has the 1 penalty for the record. So he just needs to stick with these guys in front. But Joe's doing a bit of a masterclass on how to drive Monaco with half a front.
Yeah, incredible stuff. It has been overall a very good season for OMG It's Joe. As I mentioned last time, it was not the best Spanish Grand Prix for Joe. Ooh, and he's not got the best exit coming out of the Nouvelle Chicane. He actually felt the need to go defensive into Tabac, which is never a good sign if you're going defensive into Tabak. He does seem to make his way through the swimming pool chicane that little bit quicker compared to Vodka Shot. Pinecone is once again hassling the other McLaren of MVP Zero. He takes that little bit wider line through the final corner, but it really looks like it's just not going to help him because, of course, MVP Zero picking up the DRS and the slipstream off of his teammate up ahead in 6th position. Up at the front, it's now about 2.1 seconds between Surprise and P1R Brown. Evo really not making any sort of inroads. I mean, he's still following right behind the Mercedes, but it's just not going to be enough based on the way he's driving so far. At the end of this lap, there will just be 3 remaining as MVP Zero goes defensive into Mirabeau, trying to defend from the Haas of Pinecone, who is, again, on those extremely fast, ultra-soft tires. JC97F1 has been into the pits for a fresh set of Hypersofts. He now has an over 30-second gap to his teammate, but he was already in 9th position, courtesy of that spin that he got at Saint-Devote after making contact with MVP Zero. So,
Leopard's pit.
What's that? Oh, Leopard is pit.
The pit. Yeah, from 4th.
Well, I guess he does have a huge gap behind.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He may as well go for the fastest lap now, isn't he? I mean, he's probably not going to be... Well, yeah, Joe's only just come into the swimming pool section, so he's going to be miles in front of him, so he may as well just go for the fastest lap of this one. Wise thinking from the Ferrari. I like his ideas.
Yeah, I mean, he really wasn't going to be pressuring the top guys, and again, with such a big gap down to Joe, I mean, why not come into the pits? If only to also just run that clean race. You know, with those fresh tires, he really doesn't need to worry so much about keeping that back end in check and all of that kind of stuff. So why not just play it safe and just go on to a fresh set of tires? Oh, as Pinecone around the outside at Massenet makes the move on MVP Zero. Our 2 podium sitters, both those guys have been on the podium already this season, but instead they're battling for 7th in this Monaco Grand Prix, and the Haas of Pinecone does it around the outside at Massenet. That is such a difficult place to make an overtake, especially around the outside, but he gets the job done. He's straight onto the back of the other McLaren, actually, of Team Vodka Shot, picking up that slipstream. Will Vodka Shot go defensive into the Nouvelle Chicane? It looks like he will not. Pinecone is a little bit later on the brakes, but he does think better of it. He wasn't quite that half car length alongside Vodka Shot, so he lets him take that racing line. Pinecone drops back that little bit, makes a little bit of contact as well with the barrier at the exit of Tabak. Sights his way through the chicane. Oh, he gets a great exit, though, up the inside at Rascasse, and that's another position. That's 2 positions on 2 McLarens for the Haas driver of VSR Pinecone. Moves himself up into 6th position, and now he's just got to Force India ahead of him with half a wing. Surely, I would assume OMG It's Joe is just going to be a sitting duck because Pinecone is on a charge here.
Absolutely, and that move that he made into Rascasse was very reminiscent of the late Jules Bianchi, wasn't
Yes.
it? Absolutely threw it up the inside into Rascasse. It's a stunning move from Pinecone. Moves himself into P6, and now he's on the attack of Joel. Oh my God, that's getting close between those 2, but not close enough. Also, what's getting relatively close is the P1R Brown behind Evo. That's now 1.3 seconds, but this is probably the battle to watch on track at them.
Yeah, let's go actually on board with P1R Brown. Yeah, oh my gosh, you can see just visually how much closer he is compared to what we saw just a few laps ago. It's actually less than a second and a half now, which is incredible. Again, he's got the exact same tire life as Evo. And again, Evo really does seem the quickest out of the 3, or has seemed the quickest out of the 3, but just really cannot get past Surprise. And I got to say, I'm not really shocked about that. As I said at the beginning of the broadcast, if there's somebody you want trying to overtake you at Monaco in the Xbox One F1 League of AOR, it's Evo. I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a more respectful driver. And on the final lap of this race, that has become extremely evident. Let's go back on board as the guys in the battle for 5th position are just starting. Just got to the top of the hill, and it looks like Pinecone is not going to be able to make the overtake through Massenet, through Casino. Can he get him on the exit, on the run down towards Mirabeau? No. OMG It's Joe kind of sticking to the middle of the track, but here comes Pinecone up the inside at the exit of the corner. He's going to have to go around the outside at the hairpin, which is very, very difficult to do. He will have the inside line, though, for the next couple of right-handers, and I believe he is going to get the job done on OMG It's Joe. Yes, he does. Pinecone moves up into 5th position as P1R Brown wins the Monaco Grand Prix thanks to a couple of 3-second time penalties for Veloce Surprise and CRG Evo. I would have been on board with that going on, but Pinecone, again, just really on a charge here in the closing laps of this race with those fresh Ultra Softs, moves a pretty good distance ahead of OMG It's Joe. Again, we really don't know what the penalties are going to be like for these guys, so we're going to have to wait for all of them to cross the line in order to find out where they're going to finish. But you can see how much Overseer, how much just Joe is struggling so much in that Force India with those 34-lap old Super Softs. As they cross the line, Team Vodka Shot might actually get him, and he's done it. Team Vodka Shot gets him across the line out of the final corner. Really incredible stuff. MVP Zero actually moves up into 5th just because of not having any sort of penalties. So that's an incredible result. I said earlier that Team Vodka Shot was the leading McLaren, and MVP Zero has gone and proven me wrong on that one. Holy cow. I have to say, you know, at the start of that race, it was really all about strategy, playing it safe, stuff like that. But holy cow, towards the end there, that got really breathless.
It did, didn't it? I think it was all the time where that was occurring because everyone was so close together. But let's just take for a moment that P1R Brown's just won a race in AOR 2,
amazing,
which is a pretty amazing feat for him. I'm sure he did not expect that going into this weekend. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much better than winning at Monaco either.
Right?
The cruel in the calendar, the jewel in the calendar for him, and that will live, I'm sure, long in the memory for himself.
Yeah, I mean, that first win in a top split in Apex Online Racing is a truly magical moment. Something that I've personally never experienced, so I really can't describe it to you guys. Maybe when P1R Brown comes in, and you can see. So MVP Zero did actually pick up a 3-second time penalty, but everyone else around him had 6 seconds worth of time penalties, which is what gave him that 5th place position. In the end, it was extremely close. Yeah, 47 seconds behind the leader, 47 seconds for Pinecone, 49 seconds for Team Vodka Shot, 50 seconds for OMG It's Joe. I mean, it was extremely close, but in the end, and I've said this so many times historically across this season, other seasons, in the end, the guy with no penalties won the race. And I really think that is like one of the most telling things about competitive sim racing. It's very, very rare that you see somebody win a race with a time penalty. We did actually see it last time out in Spain, but that's just Evo being Evo. But just, I can't congratulate P1R Brown enough. Again, hopefully we will get him for an interview here. Hopefully we'll get Evo and some other guys as well too. So hopefully we'll get some people and we can hear their thoughts on that Monaco Grand Prix. But again, P1R Brown, who was not leading the race, has actually picked up the win. Really, really, really incredible stuff. I'm so happy for him right now.
Yeah, I mean...
So we do have Evo in the box with us, who you were... It was kind of all over the place there, Evo, but maybe you can talk us through your feelings. But at one point it was looking like, you know, you weren't even going to be in contention for the lead because you had a 3-second time penalty and Surprise didn't. And then Surprise picked up the 3-second time penalty. And then you guys had that contact, which allowed P1R Brown to get closer. How was that race today for you?
I don't know. I'm just mad. I was close enough to finally try and overtake Surprise, and I didn't even touch him. He just spins into the wall, and then he had damage, and I thought I might as well stay behind him. And I don't know. It's just so unlucky that once you get close, the game thinks you have to push the other. I don't know. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, I pointed that out when the incident happened because from my spectating, it didn't look like you actually made contact with him. It looked like you guys still had about a meter between the two of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly with the way his car moved, you know, the netcode must have thought that you actually did in fact make contact with him. But yeah, I can imagine that's extremely frustrating. What about qualifying as well too? We haven't seen you off of pole position too many times. Were you just lacking in pace? You know, was your PB faster than that, or was Surprise just the quicker guy in quali?
On my last run, I got blocked by a car that crashed in Sector 1, but I don't think I would have got pole from Surprise. His lap was really good.
Gotcha. Yeah, we did see that. I think that was the Haas. I think that might have been Pinecone. But yeah, a couple of drivers, it seemed, got cut out or got caught out on that one. But it still was a thrilling race. It wasn't the most exciting race at the start. I got to tell you, there wasn't a ton of overtaking or anything like that. But at the end there, it got really frantic, especially just because of all of the all of the penalties. We were trying to figure out who's going to finish where, who's got what penalties, and all of that sort of thing. Do you have any words for P1R Brown after he picked up his first win?
Yeah, he just did the right thing. He didn't pick up a penalty and just run his own race. I wouldn't say he deserved it. I think Surprise deserved it the most. But yeah, it's racing and it's a game in the end. Sometimes things like this happens.
Yep. Yeah, I feel for Surprise. It is going to be another second position for Surprise, though. He's picked up. This is now, I believe, his fourth second place finish in 6 races, and Evo picking up another podium. 6 out of 6. But not picking up another win. And I do believe we have actually lost James. I think we lost James from the commentary, so apologies for that. But thank you, Evo, for joining me. Of course, always a pleasure to speak with you. And to all of the... Oh, you know what? I don't have driver of the day information. So you guys might want to check on Twitter for that one. I'm sure the driver of the day will be announced via Twitter. Normally Dan Hawkins is blowing me up on Discord telling me who the driver of the day was, but I'm not getting that this time. So make sure you guys check out the Apex on Racing at Apex on Racing on Twitter. You can find out who the driver of the day was today. But a big thank you to James for filling in for Andy today, of course. And also a big thank you to our 12 drivers for going out there, putting on that show for us. Again, it was a very breathless finish. And a best of luck as well, too, to our drivers for the next week, which I do believe is going to be round 7 is Canada. So we're going to be at Canada at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve next week for the Canadian Grand Prix. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.